Hello and welcome to this first painting log on this channel. In fact, the first video on this channel. What this is going to be is a series of videos once a month where I talk about what I have been painting. This is directly inspired by Wib from Snipe and Wib, who does a monthly series where he talks about the models he's painted in a month, putting them on a turntable and talking through his thoughts on the model and where they fit into his army. This is a format that I like so much that I decided to completely steal it. Definitely check out Snipe and Wib if you're not already familiar with them. They make great 40k content, particularly their Codex Compliant series, which is really entertaining for somebody like me who remembers a lot of the older stuff from like 3rd and 4th edition. And then also check out Wib's own channel where he does this exact series, but better. Anyway, on to the models. I've decided to try and work on a system of focusing on just one model a month and then speed painting anything else I need to paint so that I can both get stuff done but also improve on my technical side. So as you'll see later, I painted a whole bunch of other stuff that just needed to be painted and reserved my concentrated painting time and effort and technical stuff for this ancient model. This was a bit of an odd one because I decided to paint him to a really high standard after I'd actually assembled and sort of prepped the model, which means that whilst you can't see it, there's actually some very, very obvious mold lines on his shoulder because it's a push fit model and I didn't bother to milliput it. And I kind of already started painting before I realised it was an issue. I'm pretty happy with how he's come out. The leather was an interesting two-step process where I painted it once and wasn't happy and I thought the highlights looked too chalky and we glazed it with a bunch of corn red and that gave it this very soft kind of leathery finish, which I'm really happy with but wasn't really what I was going for in the first place, but I'll take it. A couple of other noticeable things are the armour, which is actually not painted with an airbrush for one thing, it's just layered paint. And it's obviously very textured, so it's got lots of chips and dents in, and these are really easy to do. You just take your fine detail brush and you put stripes of black paint on top of stripes of your highest level highlight paint to give a kind of three-dimensionality to it, and you do that in strategic places, and overall the effect just kind of works. I'm happy with how the metallics came out on the icon, and the skeleton looks pretty much exactly how I imagined it in my head, but there's lots of things I would like to change about this model. There's lots of little things that I notice when I look at it on a big screen, but if I want to just spend a month on these things, I have to move on to the next model, which next month is going to be this dwarf, which I got from White Dwarf about 15 years ago, I think, and I'm going to use him to try and learn how to do non-metallic metals. So watch this video next month to hold me accountable for when I try to do that. The next model, which I finished this month, though didn't mostly paint, is my toxicrene for Hive Fleet Nostromo. Basically, I'd completely finished him apart from his tentacles, but considering the tentacles make up about 50% of the model, that feels like a reasonable reason to include him in this video. I'm really happy with how the gradient turned out on the tentacles. Again, I'm not using an airbrush because I don't own one, and I think considering I did it with a brush, I'm very happy with the end result. Not quite so sure about the blue spots towards the end, which are kind of mirroring the black spots, which are again there basically just to sell the gradient, make it look smoother than it actually is. And while I think the black ones do that quite well, the blue ones not quite so much. The overall effect is pretty gross though, and I think he definitely looks dangerous. He's also dangerous to try and transport. Literally, this is the most awkward model that Games Workshop has made to transport. So I magnetized the arms so they pop off, and hopefully you can actually see them a bit better in this view. With the toxicrene being completed, that actually means I have totally finished my 1000 points of Hive Fleet Nostromo. The previous models I'd finished for were these venom throats, which I'm including just so you can see how the toxicrene ties into the rest of the army. They're all very xenomorph inspired, but they've got these accent colors of facehugger brown or kind of tan, and then the totally non-xenomorphy blues, which I included basically because otherwise they looked kind of unpainted. As it stands, I still have a lictor to paint and my winged hive tyrant, which is going to be a focus model, I think, for March. Of course, the project that I'm mostly known for when it comes to painting is my Hawaiian Orcs, and this month I set myself the goal of trying to paint 5 boys a week, which, now that I stack them up and put them on the turntable, it's quite a lot of boys to have done in a month. This is actually half of one unit complete. I need to do 60 boys in total for the 1000 points that I'd sketched out, though that's now more than 1000 points because this was written with 8th edition in mind. These boys definitely aren't done to the best of my abilities. In fact, I'd estimate maybe 80%, 90% even of the surface area is painted with contrast. So the skin, previously I had done with a kind of a layering technique with contrast as a base. This time around, I literally just used orc flesh contrast with a mixture of the medium added in just to thin it and a bit of dark oath flesh to tone down the bubblegumminess. And to be honest, when you look at them on a large scale like this, I don't think you can really tell the difference between models that have had the highlight treatment and those that haven't. You might notice that a bunch of the boys actually have pineapples and coconuts instead of sluggers, and that's because I ran out of sluggers. These are a mixture of Age of Sigmar orc boys and 40k orc boys, and so I only had so many pistols to go around. Seeing as the models needed to have a ranged weapon, I thought, throw in coconuts. Why not? These were 3D printed for me by the lovely Calamity Cass on my Discord server, and I'm incredibly grateful to her for doing this because they really add so much character to these models. And then lastly for this month, this orc litter, which is a lead belcher kit from the Ogre Kingdoms in Age of Sigmar, which has basically had a orc knob head added to it, along with, of course, a pineapple as ammunition. The shirt was green stuffed on with a custom design painted on the back. This was basically the result of me Googling on stream awful Hawaiian shirts and finding this design and thinking, that looks like a good challenge, let's make that. Again, he's about 80 to 90% painted with contrast paints. The trousers are apothecary white, the boots and belt are Cygor brown, the flesh is the same orc hide mix, and the pineapple is just snakebite, along with a couple of other details like the fastenings on the shield. I hope that you enjoyed this log and will continue to watch the series into the future. One of the reasons, the main reason why I'm making this series is because I want to be held accountable. I want to be forced to paint stuff, basically. If I know I have to make a video every month, then I will paint any number of the dozens of models in my collection that need to be painted. And additionally, I've set myself a goal of I want to win a golden demon in the next 10 years, and I'm only going to do that if I improve my painting, and I'm only going to improve my painting if I paint models. Also, you know, I want to play 40k, and so if I want to play 40k, I need to paint my models. So basically, by watching this video and continuing to watch this series, you are doing me a solid and forcing me to do something that I actually enjoy doing. By the way, this isn't the only thing that's going to go on this channel. There's going to be tons of other content like stream highlights and shit posting and all manner of stuff that I just can't put on the main channel because, you know, it's kind of a brand now. But at the very least, I will see you next month with what I've been painting in February, including, hopefully, a rather shiny dwarf.